Hi, it's on. My name is Pezi and this is Manuel. And we are trying to modernize the city of Vienna for you. And we have a brand new website, and we should celebrate that in Las Vegas maybe, but we didn't. We have a brand new website thanks to our design system. We started to work on 3 years ago.
Can I dreh das Mikro kurz?
Okay. Feel free to click around and give us feedback. We would be very happy to hear it. How did it come? I give you a short look back. We had a style guide for, I think, 20 years in the city of Vienna. It was a very old-fashioned 700 chapter text website. I don't know if anyone ever opened it. I'm not sure, but now we have a design system, and I'm very happy about it because one of our biggest problems was that there were no standards. The wien.gv.at website is our department is responsible for the wien.gv.at website, but there are many other websites from the city of Vienna who are done by different departments, and that means that some websites are looking like that, or they're looking like this. And these two are my favorite worst case examples. And now I'm very happy that we have a design system, so some things like that won't happen again. The design system will be the most important basis for the daily work of many people. Manuel will give you a short introduction to the different aspects. One of the steps before starting the design system was our content strategy. And maybe this is one special part because our editorial team is one of the main target groups to use our design system. And one of our main goals, it's a bit tiny, but maybe you can see it here. One of our main goals was to be able to reuse our contents and elements. And so the design system was one try to get there. Do you want to say some things?
Yes, I would like to. Hi, I'm Manuel. I'm not with the City of Vienna anymore. I used to work for the City of Vienna. Now I'm an external consultant, just to make it clear. All the things that Pezi talked about and more is summarized under our design system handbook, and we call it Handbuch. It's Handbuch.wien.gv, and I'm mixing German and English, that's great. And there you will find all kinds of things that are part of our design system. You will find things that are literally design, like, color. So all the different colors that we're using, and I absolutely love our names: Abendstimmung, Morgenrot, Frischgrün, Nebelgrau. There's also something about our beautiful Wiener Melange, which all of you know because you see it every day, I guess. So our custom font and how to use it and how to use it in different languages and so on. And also we have our icons and illustration, which you probably also see every day. And you can just check them out and download them and I don't know. Yeah, and all the different icons that we have. So we have that part, the design part in our handbook. And then, as already Pezi mentioned, we also have something about content. So we also talk a lot about designing URLs, for example. So this is our domain policy. How do URLs have to look like? So this is all public. Yeah, and it's all public, of course. So this is also part of what we consider a design system. So not just the technical part, but also, stuff like that. And also how we, manage content. We have a content strategy which Pezi and the team worked on beforehand, and we also talk about content, for example, how we manage content. So as you can imagine, as the city of Vienna, we have all kinds of websites. We have the big main website, but we also have a lot of microsites. And one thing, or one problem we have is that if you have multiple sites, then you have multiple sources of truth for content. And maybe on one side you say, I don't know, WC, and on the other website you say toilet. And to avoid that, we want to have a single source of truth for our content. And this is why we are planning and working on having a centralized content management with our new content management system. And you can read all of that here. If you want to, I can give you an example. So for example, here we have the website, or the part of the website for city planning, and you can see all the current projects that are in development in the city of Vienna. So we're talking about buildings and places that are in development mostly and not finished yet. And so all this stuff you will find on our website, because the single source of truth is our content management system, but you won't find it on, I don't know, Google Maps or something like that, because it's still in development. There's no point of interest. But what if you wanted to show these places that are currently in development in our map of the city of Vienna? How would we do that? We could, just copy the content, but that wouldn't be great. So what we did here is we said, okay, you know what? Here's the website. You can filter it. You have all the different projects that are in development. But if you want to use it somewhere else, you go to the URL, and you just add .json at the end, and then you get the same thing in JSON. So you have all the data publicly available. You can use it, you can do whatever you want with it, and it's available for most pages. My ex-boss will love you for this, would love you for this applause, because it's his brainchild. And you can see all the GIS data in there. So you have like the coordinates and all kinds of data that you would need to show that stuff. And also for you have the same for single entities. So not just for all the projects here, but also for single pages, for example. So if you go into Albrechtskaserne, you can see there's some data here. And if you add JSON again, you have the same content as JSON, you can use it. Another thing we also do is you can also share this in a different way. So you can see JSON here, and if you are viewing events, for example, you will be able to share them as like a date for your ICS file. I'm working on it, it's not done yet, but it will be available. And another thing you can do is you can also embed this page. So you can take the data from the page and embed it in your, like let's say you're blogging and you want to show data from this website, you can do that. And again, you just add at the end of the URL, you add embed, and then you can see an embeddable iframe version of that page that you can use in your blog. So this is also part of our content strategy, part of our design system. Yes, then of course we also have something about language, about how we communicate, how we write, and also how you're supposed to write. So as an editor, how do you write dates? How do you talk to people? How do you address people? I don't know. How do you write currency and so on? So this is also in our handbook. And then we have the pattern library, which is just a collection of patterns that we created. The stack is vanilla HTML, vanilla CSS, vanilla JavaScript, nothing except web components. So the first version of this thing was completely vanilla, and then the people within the city of Vienna who write React said, no, we're not going to use that. It's not reusable, we don't care. And we said, okay, that's true. What can we do? And then they proposed web components, and we looked into it, and then we basically rewrote the entire thing. And now we can use it with our content management system, which is Craft CMS. We can use it with React. We can use it with whatever you want, because it's a standard. It has great interoperability. So you can use it anywhere you want. And it's just a standard, and it's also lightweight. We have no third-party dependency. It's amazing. Yeah, here's an example. So yeah, this is a card, the mother of all demos, kind of. And you have the code. You can see there's a custom property here, and also you can see that we are not working too much with Shadow DOM. So if you turn off JavaScript, it will all work, because we are fans of not having to rely on JavaScript. So much applause. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's also an API section where you have all the different attributes that you can use with our custom, with our web components, and also different events and slots and all kinds of stuff that might be interesting to you. The website itself is built with Eleventy, which is a static site generator, so it's all just HTML because we want to be as fast and efficient as possible. And yeah, what you see here is the Wiener Melange theme, which is just a theme of our thing because we built it as a white label solution. We want to make it publicly available. We want you to use it. So when we're done, you will be able to use the component library, and there is an entire CSS API that you can use to customize it. You don't even have to really write CSS. You can just change custom properties, and then you will be able to use this in your design if you want to. Yeah. Here's just another example of a website that uses our web components. So you can see this is not the main website. This is like a microsite, and microsites are identifiable by this bar here. And usually there's also a menu. And this is just one of our reports. We have all kinds of reports, hundreds of reports. And usually they're in PDF, and PDF is not very accessible, or at least you can make it accessible, but it's a lot of work. So we decided to, instead of going for PDF, we just build websites. And they use the web components. It's also built with Eleventy. And the amazing part here, the content management system for this is a doc file. So we have a node script that reads a doc file and creates the website based on the doc file in like 2 seconds or so. There's even a search, so you can search. It's a dump search. It's just a JSON file that we crawl. But yeah, this is it's all just Word basically. But just uses our web components. We have some examples. So you have some websites that are already online. You can check out. I mean, the main website. When did it go online? Like 10 days ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And we have some other demo stuff that you can check out. It's still a baby. There's some things that are not developed as they should be, or they will develop with time. We're working on it. There are some bugs that we're working on. And yeah, we are also interested in hearing your feedback. So check it out. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like, especially. And then we will work on it. Should we also mention the test community?
Yeah, I forgot that.
Where is it?
Can go back to.
Oh. Okay.
wien.gv.at.
So we have this thing where we, when we develop something new and we're not sure if it's a great idea or if we should this or that way, we just ask you, the people of Vienna, and you know more about that.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's a simple newsletter, and about 1,500 people are getting this newsletter already. And yeah. At the moment, you only can give us feedback to the relaunch, but in the next few weeks and months, we will be sending out new projects, and we would be really happy to hear what you don't like. But yeah, of course, please send us just your really honest feedback. And yeah, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Yes, please.
First, nice work.
Thanks.
Second, I know that Germany has, I think, Bundesservice or whatever service agentur for all the digitalization efforts. This is not something Austria does, right? So like the stuff you do for Vienna is in Vienna, and no, like outside of Vienna, people don't care because they want to do their own stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you made a super nice thing. And it works. You can use as Word files for content management, which is cool. But all the effort is going to have to be duplicated now 8 times if they also wanted to have a nice design system with a nice content management? Or are there any Bundesländer that knocked on your door and they're like, this is really nice, in Carinthia we don't know how to do computer, can we get it?
It depends. Of course, we did a lot of work now just for the city of Vienna, but there are certain teams for Austria for special topics like Formulare, and we have new Amtswege and special sites for that also. Maybe it will work, I'm not sure. Yeah. And we are trying to show that in this Austrian team and convince them to use our stuff that we worked on for a long time. But it's not sure if we will convince them. We're trying to.
Yeah, so with the forums especially, there is like this shared effort across all the member states, all the Bundesländer. We're sharing the same system, but like Pezi said, it sucks, it's old, it's bad. And we're trying to influence them in a way by building something that's great and showing them and trying to convince them that's great. And then for other stuff, like for example, the doc file thing that I showed you, it's called, we call it the Richter framework. We will open source that and we'll just give it away to anyone. And we hope that also other states in Austria or Germany, wherever, will adopt it and use it. But there's no like centralized official effort. Yeah.
Shame.
But you're not open sourcing it, so it won't be able to make contributions.
It's complicated. You know, when I'm saying we're going to release it, it means in the next 5 years or so, maybe 10 years. It's very slow, you know. And also, you know, it's not the easiest thing to make something open source when you're working for the city or for any public entity. But we're working on it. Yeah, but maybe not open source, shared source, some kind of Austrian way of, you know.
Email for the zip file with the show.
The second question, can you maybe show the documentation page of your web component or one component again?
Yeah.
Where you have the properties shown.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's done with Elenity. So my question is, for example, for this page, for the start stuff, where you show the properties, do you have to, if you change something on the component, do you have to manually change the documentation then, or is
No.
No.
The way we do it is we're in our component JavaScript files, we're commenting the code, and in the code you have the documentation. So in our builds, there's a build task that just takes all the comments and creates this custom elements manifest JSON file or something like that, and we use that as the data source for the documentation.
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
What's your experience with using web components, and like how do you change something? Like for example, if there's some issue in the code, how do you make sure that it gets updated, and does it get updated automatically on all the different sites, or is it a manual?
We have something like a CDN, as you can see here. There's assets.wien.gv.at, and we just change the version number, and then you can take the latest version, or instead of writing the version number here directly, you can just write latest, and then you have always the latest set of files, or you just manually change the version number, and then you can get the freshest version of any component or the entire thing. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think there were some really novel things in there. For example, the JSON audible stuff, where you all inspired by the British government's attempts at their standardization effort, because that's also one of the famously good government websites, especially when it comes to accessibility and forms.
Yeah. There aren't too many great examples when it comes to accessibility in design systems, and also sharing the knowledge and basically providing best practices. And gov.uk is one of the poster childs, and then you have some other private design systems, but definitely gov.uk, they have great people, also people we know who are very inspirational, and maybe we stole some ideas. Who knows?
There are worse places to steal.
Yeah, definitely.
I have 3 questions. One is, how large is your team? Second one is, are you hiring? And third is, how are you doing like stakeholder management in this context?
I will answer the first 2 easy questions, and you answer the last question. It's complicated. No, the first question is actually really complicated. Like, we have an IT team, Manuel, which are in the 22nd district, far away from everyone else in this huge building, and they're doing all the IT infrastructure and also some of the app stuff, the non-main website stuff. And then we have 2 people working on the front end, basically, or 2.5 developers who are responsible for the front end. That used to be me, but now they're different people, and my colleague Markus Pleiner took over, and he's the lead now, and he has like 1.5 or 2 colleagues. And design, we have we had an external design team, but now we're kind of redrawing everything internally in Figma. It's complicated. Like, we don't really have people internally. It's many different parties, external agencies that do different stuff. Yeah, except for the 2 development people, and then we have content strategy. We have editorial people. And am I missing anything?
No.
No. Okay. Cool. Are we hiring? What do you do?
Design stuff.
Design stuff. Yeah, cool. Let's talk afterwards. You tell me, and I will just ask someone if they need someone who does design stuff.
And stakeholder management was quite easy and very hard at the same time. The worst part was, Manuel mentioned it, that online topics are, on the one hand, there's the Manuel 1 for the Technik department, and then there's our department, the communication department. And both are not best friends, I would say. And it was a very good way to find together, to launch our design system, because for some reasons they are very happy to have it too. It makes their daily work much easier. And so in the end it was quite simple, but I started 10 years ago doing the groundwork and doing the content strategy, and everyone was, who are you and what are you doing and what do you want? And it was a long process, but yeah. The last year was really, really easy. I'm surprised too, but I'm very happy.
You. Oh.
Sorry.
When you're saying that, so you said that you are working in Figma, but you like creating the web components. How do you like keep them in sync? Is it also manual, or do you have some special strategy?
We don't. No, the thing is, like I said, there was this agency that made the design, so we built the entire thing. Agency is gone, and now the truth is what you see here. The design system, the Handbuch is the truth. But there are different teams within the city that have different needs, and they need the component library in Figma. And what we're doing right now is, behind this thing, there are a lot of custom properties, or design tokens if you want, hundreds of them. And right now we are trying to figure out the best way to structure them, to name them, to build them in a way that it works with Figma. We are, for example, also exploring Token Studio, for example. Marco, wo bist du? Where is he? Yeah, Marco from Token Studio is also here, so talk to him if you have questions about that. So we're trying to find something that will help us with the tokens at least. And the rest, I don't know Figma. I don't care too much about Figma, it doesn't sound too cool for me. I heard about PenPod. PenPod seems to be much cooler than Figma. But I think we already bought the licenses. So let's talk in a year or so maybe, then I will tell you how they figured it out, or maybe someone else will be here and talk about how they managed to do that. I can only talk about tokens a little bit, but I don't know enough about Figma, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have a question about technology.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you are a fan of vanilla things and open source. But my question is whether you considered some frameworks that can create web components and why you chose the path you chose.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed to say that actually the web components is the only part we're not completely vanilla, we are using lit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we, of course, our first path is always the web standards path, but it's just not fun to work with web components, like the standard web components. And also trying to recreate the reactivity and all the features that the lit comes with is just way too hard and way too expensive in terms of performance and time and all of that. So we said, okay, it's just a couple of kilobytes and it helps us so much, we're using that. Yeah.
I just wanted to add one more thing to your question. Why was the stakeholder management so easy? I think the main point was that we did a lot of research. What do people need and what do they want? And in the end, we just gave them what they needed and what they wanted.
It's not the same.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
More questions later because we are already into the break, the refreshment and toilet and thing break. So
Sorry.
thanks.